feel like they need to voice every opinion they have. Sadly, opinions are like arseholes. Yes, absolutely. And
I do think the media has a role to play as well, because today is Transgender Day of Remembrance, and obviously we've had Rainbow Laces weekend as well. And then you have certain women's football podcasts platforming people with hateful views. And admittedly, there was an excuse for those who are unaware. This is the Kickback, which is the TalkSport women's football show with Rusha Littlejohn and Shabana Hearn. And basically they had a woman on who I'm not going to dignify by actually naming, who was one of the leaders of the protest against trans women playing football that happened at the FA and at Wembley this weekend. And they she came out and spouted the most terrific anti-transgender person bile. The day before, obviously, Trans Day of Remembrance, which is the day when everyone remembers transgender people who've died and passed away for various things like hate crimes and stuff like that. Which again is a horrendously ill-judged thing, but your women's football podcast. If women's football is supposed to be for all people, why is a women's football podcast allowing those views? Like, why are you? I get the right to reply. I get the idea, but you just don't give people like that oxygen, in my opinion.
It was hard because I was watching it earlier. I was like, oh, I'll catch up because I do genuinely enjoy their podcast. And then they were talking about, this is a big thing in women's football. And I was like, all right, what's this? What's it going to be? And then they introduced, I genuinely don't know her name, so I can't say who it is. And suddenly I was thinking, this is taking a turn. Why are we giving this a platform? What is going on? Because people like her think all trans women are literally Bob and Dave from down the pub on a Friday night who've thrown a wig on and went, do you fancy playing football in that team? Like, have you ever met a trans woman? Have you ever met a trans person? Like, that's not people aren't transitioning to take spaces off someone else. If you are transitioning, that is the hardest thing for you to be able to do. So to put that extra pressure on taking away something that you enjoy doing, like, who does she think she is? Being able to judge who can join leagues and who can't. And Sophie in the chat, hope would you mind us saying, Sophie's part of a team and part of a league that is very inclusive. There are no issues at all.
There are hardly any trans people playing. Like, the statistics are I
think there's about 70, maybe.
It's something like I'm not entirely sure the statistics, and I'm not going to try and go on near them. But what I am going to say is the actual trans population of the UK is not that high for many different reasons. And even less of them want to play football. And, you get the feeling you get that this woman thinks that I could turn up and play WSL because I've got a bit of eyeshadow on. Like, genuinely, that's the argument these people have. And it's just like,
that's her view. And it's like,
no.
What hate have you been fed that you think, one, that's okay to say, but two, that you believe it? And it's just, I don't understand why people like that are getting a platform. Because she was also saying the lionesses need to come out and support this cause. It's like, have you met the lionesses? They're never going to support your bile. Like, what is going on? So we just wanted to bring this to a point, didn't we? To just say, again, this is a safe space. The majority of women's football is a safe space. And unfortunately, there are people out there who think that their beliefs are supreme and that they're right. It's not. If it was genuinely about safety, fair play, because we need safeguarding in the women's game. We need more rules in place. But it's not. You can just tell by the way these people are talking.
It's bullshit, because apart from anything else, if Millie Bright, it's physically better. I'm 6'1", I'm 15 stone, I play ice hockey. Millie Bright would snap me in half. We went for a 50-50 ball, Millie Bright would snap me in half. And I have no doubt any WSL defender would snap me in half. And So it's utter rubbish. And most of these people don't care about women's sports except when they can use it to further their cause. You never see them advertising the good side of women's sport. You'll never see this woman talking about the Lionesses, for example, playing the USA, or talking about a great goal from anybody. So
no, it'll just be this fear that men are taking over. Biologically, women's spots that should be theirs, and it's like, honestly, it was awful.
Have I told men are just converting because it's much easier to get into women's football? I remember once having to do at Coventry United. Jodie Bartle was rehabbing from injury, so she wasn't even fully fit at the time. She was rehabbing, and she was doing a fitness test to see if she could get back and play. And one of those things is the bleep test. I'm sure everybody's done them at school, but if not, you have to run a set distance in a defined time, and there's a tape that beeps in a set number of seconds, and the beeps get closer and closer together the higher the level you get. You have to get to a certain level. By the way, Tony and everyone else in the chat, Quinn is non-binary. They have not actually. See, I nearly made the mistake then. The trans player, or there was a trans player in professional ice hockey, but they transitioned the other way. So they were female to male, but still played in women's pro hockey. And weirdly, nobody cared. Like, they literally changed their name from, I can't remember what their previous name was, but their name is Harrison now, and they were the first professional transgender ice hockey player, and they transitioned female to male, but stayed in the women's league because of gender they were born at, which is what these activists want. But apparently nobody cared that it did happen the other way. But anyway, the bleep test, basically, the very, very short version of it is Jodie did it, and it looked relatively easy. And I decided to do the thing, and they said, "Oh, do you want to go at it as the whole? Can you keep up with a women's professional footballer?" Reader, I could not keep up with a women's professional footballer. I got absolutely annihilated. And she did the thing with the skipping ropes that boxers do as well. Literally, she did 3 sets of 30 seconds with these things. And I looked at it and went, "Oh, that can't be too bad. I play a pretty tough sport for 20 years. I'm pretty fit. I'll have a go at it." Absolutely wrecked me. Like, literally, one set, I'm on my back, gasping for breath. She does 3 and then goes off and does a training session. So
just shows you. Yeah,
it's not about physical advantage at all, really.
No, it's not. So just to confirm, Quinn did come out as transgender non-binary in 2020. And since they've been the first openly trans and non-binary athletes at the last 2 Olympic Games as well. So there are people shining a beacon on how it should be done and can be done, but unfortunately there are still some horrendous people who are trying to stop that from happening. So as a podcast, we will always bring you these topics because they need to be talked about, they need to be discussed. And something that Sophie also put is these people will also never talk about the rampant abuse that's been going on as well. So they will talk from the high heavens about men invading, but they won't talk about the actual problems in the world of football as